Wow, I can't believe it's been 20 years since this game came out. I remember when I was a young man playing this on a Friday afternoon, hopping onto this game non-stop. But it wasn't until I reached adulthood when I realized how good this game was. But how good was it really? Well, let's jump right in and find out. Can you talk about how good these graphics look, even for a game from the PS1 era? Now granted, this is just barely 15 months before the PS2 launched, so it makes sense that Polyphony Digital wanted to take full advantage at the near end of the PS1's life cycle. Now, do these graphics still hold up today? No, not really in comparison to its sequels, but as for its time, it was a technical marvel, which I don't think I've ever seen a game accomplish this much in terms of graphics up until this point. One thing that I don't see a whole lot of people talk about is how good looking the tracks look as a whole. So if you look at how good looking the iconic bridges at Grand Valley, to the night sky shimmering over your car in Special Stage Route 5, to the beautiful evening sky in Red Rock Valley, all of them are pretty damn good looking for a game made over 20 fucking years ago. Oh, and speaking of tracks, the original Gran Turismo barely had 11 of them. Now there's over 23 of them. Every single one of them from the original Gran Turismo had made its return here, except Special Stage Route 11 for whatever reason. Apparently, Special Stage Route 11 was supposed to appear in this game, as evident by how there are screenshots floating around of it on the internet. But unfortunately, we were never given an answer as to why it didn't make an appearance or why it was cut from the game. So that's a bit unfortunate to hear. If you want more information on it, I recommend you watch Random Car Guy 17's video on it, as it explains it in a much more detailed manner than I ever did. Anyway, it brought a couple of new ones too, such as Grindelwald, Red Rock Valley, Special Stage Route 5, Laguna Seca, and a bunch of rally tracks, all done and looked very well, except Super Speedway, because that track is super boring to race on, as it's just a test course but super small. And we also can't forget the one that started it all. One of the newer things that they introduced were the introduction of rally races, which were okay to say the least, because I keep slipping it and slipping all over the place. And well, it's a good start, I guess, or it's just me sucking ass at rally racing, but whatever. At least the shit is mad improved in its sequel though. One of the best things about it is how you can use the rally cars in normal races, such as how you can use the god almighty Escudo in like every race and literally beat everything. Speaking of cars, the number of cars was increased from 175 in GT1 all the way to over 600 of them. But was it really necessary to include that many cars? No, not really. It's pretty apparent that Polyphony really favored Japanese cars in this game, especially Nissan, probably because it was way more time and cost efficient to just walk over to the headquarters rather than take a billion flights all across the globe to negotiate rights to use the cars. What you have here is a bunch of slow, very boring to drive cars that go under 90 miles an hour, on top of having a bunch of Skyline and NSX clones in the process. Like, here's my problem and here's my issue. Most of them of these clones are either A, they're the exact same car with some small differences. They either B, inferior to their slightly more expensive counterparts, or C, they're either the exact same car with a different coat of paint. Literally. Like, this bad boy can fit so many Skylines in it. Outside of that little gripe I have, the car selection in this game is actually pretty damn good. So good, in fact, I did a 200 log video series on it that spanned over the course of 6 months. One thing I do want to mention is the introduction of drag cars. The one and only time they appeared in the franchise. Sucks is how 2 of them can't even turn for shit, and one of them is just a body modification for a Dodge Intrepid. Apparently there was supposed to be a drag race mode set to be released, as evident by a demo, but unfortunately, like pretty much everything else that has been cut in the game, time constraints got the better of it, and so it was removed from the game, to be never seen in the franchise ever again. If you want more information on the subject, I suggest you watch Matt J155's video on the subject. Is actually pretty damn informative. Oh, and speaking of things that take way too long, the game length in this game is actually a lot shorter than I anticipated. You have your standard two lap races, your 3-lap races, and your 5-lap races, though those are actually pretty rare. And like I said earlier, your 1-lap rally races, which I find a little disappointing, as they just feel way too short. This game, for the most part, is actually pretty easy. All you have to do is just race with the prize cars for the most of the time and you're good. Though what does concern me is how some of the cars are just boosted way more than they could possibly do. Like, how is a little ass Lotus Elise Motorsport have nearly 500 horsepower? Like, how? Like, even though it's not even supposed to have that much horsepower in the first place. And in some cases, certain cars appear in certain races that exceed the horsepower limit, such as how the Vector LM race car, which is over 690 horsepower, appears in the Trial Mountain Endurance race, or how the GT40, which is at minimum 305 horsepower, appears in the historic Rome Cup, which is set at 295 horsepower instead. Oh, and speaking of nightmares, those fucking license tests were just a mess, which is just a complete utter nightmare in of itself. Do you know how long it took me and how mad I got because of how I wanted to get all gold on every single license test, just to not only get 100% completion, but to get, like, what, 6 cars, and 4 of them are just mediocre at best? Arcade mode made its return this time around, except this time you can actually bring in your cars from simulation mode. Except there is no class for race cars. They're just part of the S class, which sucks because there are no race cars in the S class anyway. So yeah, that's kind of a bummer, which is really, really dumb, but I'm glad they remedied this problem in its sequel though. The soundtrack is also pretty damn fire too. Just listen to this shit. So, does this game still hold up 20 years later? Yeah, of course. It's got beautiful graphics, the driving mechanics feel very nice and very easy to get into. There's a variety of different cars and races, and it's just great for a game of its time. Honestly, I have nothing to say at this point, so thanks for watching, I guess.